how do I know if I am doing it right? Or by default, how do I know when it isn't working? And this question goes on to say, it seems like only a small percentage of my total outreach list results in anything. So how do I know if it's working, but I just haven't done it enough, or if it's not working because I haven't done it right? So you might think that worst case scenario is that you get a no response rate or a low response rate. But worst case scenario is actually worse. If you have a cold email list, maybe one that you've purchased or acquired through a database, the likelihood of those contacts being outdated goes up significantly. So worst case scenario is actually a banned email account. And when you have a brand, that can set you back significantly. A high bounce rate can get your email account bound, and it happens a lot, especially if you didn't create the list and build rapport with those on the said list. So outreach is always a numbers game, but you can improve those numbers and avoid the roll of the dice approach, starting by knowing who we're reaching out to. And if you're saying, well, I know their email, I know their first or last name because it's part of their email. I don't mean that. I mean, customizing your outreach means spending more time understanding who you're reaching out to. The journalists, the writers, the editors, the producers, also knowing their beat, their body of work, their actual titles, and their audiences, and then demonstrating all of that in your initial pitch and follow-up emails in under 190 words. It's a lot, but it is not impossible. You're doing it right when you know that health journalists are more likely to engage audiences with why content, while entertainment journalists are more likely to be attracted with list ideas. You're doing it right when you know that 65% of journalists say that their number one pet peeve is being spammed repeatedly by email or phone. You're doing it right when you know that 48% of journalists said that the number one thing that someone can do to get into their good books is to understand their current beat and position and make their pitch hyper relevant to that beat and position. You're doing it right when you know that 62% of journalists say that up to a quarter of the stories that they end up publishing come from their own outbound requests for content, and being smart about getting on their list of outbound requests by demonstrating thought leadership, by consistently pitching good story ideas, by leveraging other media mentions and thought leadership, and being a remarkable communicator and invested listener first. And then you scale, but only after you get that very human part right.